welcome to Always Play Blue. My name is Brian, and today we're going to be looking at the next 10 games, 40 down to 31, on my top 50 of all time. Thank you for everyone who's viewed and commented the last video. It's my first time being in front of camera. I was quite nervous. I've watched it since, which took a lot of courage to do that as well. And yeah, there's some issues. I'm quite new to this still, so the sound wasn't brilliant. I messed up some of the numbers while I was reading them out, so thank you to everyone that did not comment that I was getting the placings wrong. But I had some fantastic feedback from some people on both Facebook and on Instagram, so hopefully this video will just be that little bit better, and I'll learn as I go on. But yeah, apart from that, all there is to say now is we're going to get stuck into the next 10 games. I hope there's some nice surprises on there. There's a lot of games that have moved down from last year. The next block of 10 that will come out next week, there's a lot of new entries. They've kind of like all squeezed in the middle and then pushed everything out the way. So without further ado, okay, so the first game on this today is War of the Rings 2nd Edition. Sorry, the box lid is massive. This game is a 2 to 4 player game. Although it's predominantly played at 2, better at 2. It's designed by Roberto Di Meglio, Marco Maggi, and Francesco Nepitello. I'm going to struggle with these names for this entire video, just please bear with me. And the artwork, just out of interest, is John Howe. And John Howe does a lot of artwork for sort of illustrated versions of the book. And I think he worked on the movies as well for the concept art and stuff. But yeah, as you can see, absolutely ginormous box. It's basically just Lord of the Rings, the game, but all the war side of it, where one of you takes on the role of the Fellowship. So you play as the sort of 9 characters, but also all of the sort of armies of Gondor and Rohan and that, and then the other player is the forces of Mordor. And you start the game. I mean, this game takes like half an hour to set up, but it's totally worth it after that point. But you set up both your armies and everything all around the board. It's a beautiful map of Middle-earth. And then you have cards that you can do certain actions at certain turns, and you have dice, which are these things. The blue ones don't show up as well. So the Free People's dice, and then the Forces of Mordor dice, and you've still got different symbols on them. So when you roll them, that then gives you different actions you can do, like moving armies, recruiting, going to war, things like that. And then you have the cards that you can sort of play as like a 2-part thing to it. So you're going to play during an action, or the bottom half of the card is left for when you're doing the battles later on. The Fellowship, sort of hidden movement. So they move on a track. Every time you move, you've got the track 1, and you are that many spaces from where you started. So Sauron's forces are trying to find you. They do like a special search action and try to locate you, reveal where you are, and also corrupt you at the same time. I played this with a couple of friends. So there's like various stages you have when you get into board games. There's sort of your first big board game. There's the one that makes you realise that board games are more than just Monopoly and stuff. And then there's the game that your friend pulls out from one of their cabinets, and it blows your mind that games get this big. I mean, this thing, a bit like Formula D, comes on 2 separate boards, and each of these individual boards is as big as most board games, if not bigger. So your table, we've got a decent sized table, and it is just taken up trying to squeeze the excess armies off to the side and that, and you've kind of got your cards sticking out at the bottom of the table. It's an absolutely epic game, and yeah, it can take a few hours to play. We've had a mix of winning and losing, in that I've won once when I've been playing with my girlfriend, and she dominates the rest of the games, but we switch every time, so she's winning whichever one she plays as. I got really close last time, and I managed to get the 4 hobbits. And I do love this about this game. I think Star Wars Rebellion is the same, when it's, it gives you the whole sandbox that is Lord of the Rings, and it pushes you slightly down the path of the, the Fellowship are trying to get to Mordor, the armies of darkness are trying to, devastate the land, kind of thing. But you kind of make it your version of it. And for me, I had the 4 hobbits made it to Mount Doom, and we got 2 steps up and then got completely corrupted and ended the game. All because my girlfriend wouldn't attack Minas Tirith, and I had so many good cards that I could have used in battle. But yeah, it's a brilliant game. We do enjoy it. it's been a bit of a downer this year because I made the mistake of putting on our 10 by 10. We are 5 games in and it's December, so I don't think we're going to get our 10 by 10 done this year. Lesson learned. In my head, I thought once a month. It didn't happen like that. So it's kind of felt a bit like a slog at the end of this year. But I think once it's off our 10 by 10 list, and we play it like once or twice a year maybe, we'll sort of enjoy it more. But we've had some great games. We've had like a single soldier defending Helm's Deep, like with Lucky Roll after Lucky Roll. Yeah, it's just a great game. If you're into Lord of the Rings and you're into sort of big epic war games, highly recommend it. Next on the list is a game that goes the complete opposite direction. It's one of the smaller games in our collection. It is Campy Creatures. This is a 2 to 5 player trick-taking game. It's very clever, and it's not just trick-taking, like just playing the cards down and then just seeing who wins the hand. But you have an extra set of cards out. So let me just show you the cards quickly. They're all sort of that kind of really classic movie monster style look to them, and you can see they've all got different numbers in the top corner. That's sort of their strength. So the kaiju there is the strongest card, but he has no powers at the bottom, whereas the other cards you'll see have got special abilities as well, and you need to learn those and you need to know when to play them. But when you play, you've got you lay out a series of cards that are sort of I can't remember what they're called now. They're like the victims in that you get teenagers, and but you also get like people hunting you and stuff. And whoever wins the trick then gets first choice of those cards, and they're all worth different points in different scoring mechanisms. Teenagers is whoever has the most at the end of the round scores the maximum amount of points. Second gets a smaller lot of points, and nobody else scores even if they've got teenagers. It's just a very clever game in that respect. That it's trick taken with an extra mechanic chucked in there. I love the art style. We played it with just 2 of us. I didn't really enjoy it too, but we have played it 3 and 4. It's a much better game. It probably wouldn't have made my list if we just continued to play it as 2-player. I love the art style. I love the part of the board also has a space for these tokens. Sorry, that way around. And they represent each of the 1 and the 5 players. So the back of your card kind of matches. You see the blue one there is the same. And yes, that's who I play as. And you it's called it's like a track in the middle, and this is really annoying me now that I can't remember the name of it. And it's a tie decider. So yeah, if there's ever a tie break in your cards have scored. So when you play your cards, you're playing your high number, but before you score anything, a lot of these have special actions, like the vampire negates the ability of the creature to the left. So the person on your left has had this amazing plan, and they're going to go in there with a certain card and a certain number, and they're relying on their power. You've just ruined it by playing the vampire, and then you get to score your 6. So only 2 creatures are higher than that, so it's a pretty good chance. The mummy's amazing because she's low at 3, but if somebody plays the kaiju, any of the players, you get to capture off the middle of that board before that part of the game has even started. So you get first dibs, no matter what. The invader's great because again, low number 4, but the power that when it's your turn, if there's 2 cards available, you can take both of them, or you can pick 2 from, let's say, the 4 or 5, 3 or 4 cards in the middle. So you can, if one person plays that, whoever's last won't have a card to pick. So it's very clever. It's sort of like you have your 9 cards, and there is an expansion as well. As the more you can chuck in. Now we do have that. I think we've only played once with that so far, but you're all kind of trying to outguess each other and try to remember what everyone's played before, because once you play that card, that's out for that round. And then you get to, there's sort of, the game's divided into 3 sections, so there's like a total scoring after each one, and then whoever wins at the end with all the sort of, there's some card bonuses as well from cards you can win. But yeah, it's all about trying to second guess your opponents and remember what they've played, and most people hold the kaiju off near the end, or they don't play number 7, the beast, because you get 3 points at the end of the round anyway if you don't play him, so rarely gets the trigger pulled in. But yeah, that's number 49 on my list, and that's Campy Creatures. The next game on the list is another small card game, small box. It is Hanamakoji. It's dropped 7 places from last year. Hanamakoji is a 2-player only card game, published by Emperor S4 and designed by Kota Nakayama. It's a very clever game in that you only have 4 turns. I mean, there are rounds, but each round you only have 4 turns, and you have 4 very specific actions you can do, and your opponent has the same. So it's not about choosing. It's not the same action every time, and just trying to do it better. And it's not. You can do a myriad of things. You can either place a card face down and score at the end. Place 2 cards face down, and they get taken out of that round. I cut, you choose, and there's a 1 to the opponent, 2 to you, and there's a 2 to the opponent, 2 to you, and that's it. And so once you do one action, you flip it over. You don't get to do that again for the rest of that round. And the game is all about gaining favour with the geishas, and you can see in the top corner they've all different numbers, and you've got cards that then match those. These represent, these are linked to the geishas you're trying to gain favour with, and you do that by having the most cards. But the numbers are also the amount of those cards available per geisha. So there are 5 5s in the game. So obviously you need to have the advantage on that one at the end of the round to put a token towards you. What's really clever about this is because it's not played just in one round. It's very rare. I think we've only ever done it once where someone won the game after the first round, and I think the other person was just having a bad game and didn't think it just was quite easy. But normally you end the first round. And what you've got 2 each or 3 each, and you can either win by having 4 of the 7 geishas on your side, or I think it's 11 points, adding up all those numbers. So the first round never ends up with a winner normally. But if you have favour with that geisha in the next round, now you only have to tie to keep the geisha's favour, which I think is really, really clever, because it's not. It sort of gives you. You only have to half think about that geisha now. It's just like, if I just need to do enough to hold it, I can focus on getting another one that I don't have, or winning one back as well. So it's just a great game. We played this quite a bit. A lot of the times in the early days, I was winning, and I didn't know how I won. I was just like, I thought there'd be like another round coming, and then it was like, oh no, I won. But I'm slowly getting better at the tactics and stuff, which I will not share with my girlfriend. So she can't watch this and gain an advantage. But yeah, it's just a really nice, it's a really short one. It's a bit like Jaipur is another one that we like to. It's just a quick game when you haven't got time to get a big board out and play for an hour. You can just get this out for a quick 10-15 minute game. But yeah, really like it. Highly recommend it. Okay, next game on the list, and we're moving back up to the bigger boxes now, is Formula D. This is a 2 to 10 player racing game. It can take about an hour to play. Depends on if you play it with the full rules or not. Some people don't like to because it can be a bit of a slog. But like I say, it's a racing game. The board is a bit like Lord of the Rings, so it's 2 massive boards that join together to make the racetrack, and the cars meanwhile are kind of focused at absolutely tiny little things. But it's a 2 to 10 player game because there are 10 cars. Although you can play, we do it. We play like normal Formula One rules where you have 2 cars of your colour, so you're playing as your team. But if you wanted to have do it as drivers, and every player plays as a car, and the way it works is you roll dice, and you also control the gears of your car, and each dice represents a gear you're in. So when you start the race, you start with a little D4, and it only has 1 and 2 on it. So as you're putting off the line, you can only go 1 or 2 spaces, which would it's realistic. You're not going to bolt to maximum speed in a second. And then you can go all through the gears up to the top gear, which is a D30, but it starts like 21. So the slowest you can go is 21 spaces, and you rarely get to use that. There are not many tracks that have a long straight in them. Possible on Texas maybe, and yeah. So that's all it is really. I first heard about this game when I watched Tabletop, Will Wheaton show. So I do annoy my friends by singing the Danger Dice theme tune every time the Danger Dice comes into it. It's a black dice you use separately from movement. So when you get close to another player, and they have to roll the Danger Dice to see if you've any body damage because you got too close. I haven't played more than 1 lap of race so far because time isn't always with us, and it can take a while to go around. I've only ever played it 4 or 5 players. I don't know if this would be any good at lower player counts unless you were controlling more cars. I also haven't played Flamme Rouge at a lower player count than 4 for the same reason. But yeah, I'm a Formula One fan, so I wanted a racing game. As soon as I saw it, I wanted that in my collection, and my friend was kind enough to buy it for me as a birthday present. I've since brought some more tracks. Before the pandemic kicked off, we were just starting a championship where we had, I think, 8 of the circuits planned out, and we'd done the first race, and then we just didn't get to meet up again. So I think we're going to just scrap that season, and hopefully we'll be able to start again. I would really like to do it with the proper rules. I find it a bit too easy with single lap, even with the, so you can have 2 kinds of damage to the car. You can have just some overall damage, so everything you do wrong, like changing down gears too quickly because you're coming into a corner. Sorry, this is a really nice bit I like about it. Each corner of the track has a number, and they're sort of marked differently, like in sort of red areas around the corners, and they're all numbered. And you have to sort of stop. So roll your dice 1, 2. You stop that turn. Your next turn. You have to have that many turns per corner to sort of simulate the fact you've got to brake. It's forcing you to brake right down, so you can't just like fly around the track. And you can either have basic damage, which is just everything that goes wrong with your car, like if you hit someone, if you change gears wrong, if you overshoot a corner, it comes off a total number. Or what I'd like to do is, for our championship, is flip the board and you have a breakdown of like, if you overshoot a corner, it can affect your tyres. If you brake hard, it affects your brakes. You can damage your engine. So it's all broken down into the parts of the car. More simulation. But and when we haven't done more than 1 lap, we haven't done pit stops either. And I find that in the single lap races, you can kind of just push your car as you're getting sort of the last quarter of the track. You can just push your car and go hell for leather and just take the damage. So I'd really like to do a championship with 2 lap races. Maybe not qualifying, because you can do qualifying as well, because that would just take a lot more time. But yeah, it's I don't have many race games in the collection, but as a Formula 1 fan, I absolutely love Formula D, and I look forward to finally playing that championship. Okay, we're halfway through this part of the list, and this is number 36, and it is Ticket to Ride Europe, the 15th anniversary edition. This is designed by Alan R. Moon and published by Days of Wonder. We already know that I love Days of Wonder's games and their components. This one more than most. So Ticket to Ride is a 2 to this is a 2 to 5 player train laying game. It is one of the classic gateway games with along with Catan, Carcassonne, and Pandemic. Say, I have the base American version. I first got into the Ticket to Ride games with that. I've since brought my girlfriend the Japan and Italy expansion because she loves everything Japanese. But she'd always talked about she preferred the Europe one. She played that a lot because it has a few extra things like the stations and the way that the rules for the tunnels work in, which is quite nice. And I'd never played it, so when they announced this beautiful version was coming out, this anniversary edition, I thought they'd make a nice gift for her. And it did. It went down really well. What's special about this version and why have I picked this one? Because it is absolutely gorgeous. Instead of having the normal plastic train sets where they're all the same train model but coloured, first of all, each player's trains come in their own coloured tin with their own train company on them, and then they're sort of more. So the blues are like a car transport company, I guess, sort of the old-fashioned cars. But everyone there's logs on one. There's the sort of the gas carrying ones. There's the postal one. It's really nice that they're all individual like this. The board is so much bigger, and it doesn't come in 2 parts like the like Formula D and War of the Ring. This seems to be the 40 to 31 list seems to be the big board game ones with the big boards. So yeah, the board is a lot bigger than the original version of Ticket to Ride Europe. But the cards, the artwork's a lot nicer. The score tokens are really nice, I suppose, just being the little cylinders. They're kind of more squares with tapered corners, and they've got your logo on them as well. But yeah, it's just the best version of one of the nicest games. And I say nicest, depends on which friends I'm playing with. I've got some friends that their mission in the game is to come after me no matter what. They have blocked them off. They've worked out my routes and they've blocked them off to their own detriment, to their own cost. They both of them picked me in the game. We played with them, and my girlfriend had a runaway victory because she was just being left alone on the East Coast, and they were over working up LA, San Francisco, heading north, and they suddenly cottoned onto what I was doing and blocked me, and then blocked me again, and I was screwed completely screwed over. But I know playing games with them that's going to happen, so it was my own fault. But yeah, really nice game, really nice addition. The downside to it, I see a lot of people mention this, is the size of it. It does not fit the width of a Kallax square, so you need sort of more open space. This one actually goes sort of above my head there. There's a slot for it, but yeah, you won't be able to fit this into a Kallax unit in any direction. I don't think. It's massive, and it's expensive. But if you're a fan of the games, it's totally worth it. It's a beautiful version. So, Ticket to Ride Europe 15th anniversary. Right, back to the card games, and the next game on my list. It's down 10 places from last year, but it is Love Letter. It's a 2 to 6 player card game. It's got a very clever mechanic in the way it plays. So there are various cards. This is a pattern now, so various cards with numbers that they're worth in the corner. And everyone's dealt one card, and then there's when it's your turn, you take a card from the draw pile. So you've got two cards, and you have to decide which one you're going to play. The idea is to either be the last player standing in the round, or to, when the deck's finished, all remaining players reveal their card. Whoever has the highest number, preferably the princess, because she's worth 9 points. You then get favour as a favour token, and then there's rules in the manual for player count, how much favour you have to win overall. So you just keep playing round after round. But it's really, really clever. A bit like Campy Creatures we were talking about earlier. Each of the cards has sort of a special rule at the end that you can do. So the Baron, you can compare hands with another player at the table, which is brilliant because you sort of, you know their information immediately now, so you can sort of work with that to play. One new card in the edition I've got, which I will say comes in this really lovely bag as well. So I don't have a box for this; it just stays in that, and I love going through. And the cards fit in sleeved as well with the tokens. It's brilliant. But the edition I've got introduced a character called the Spy. So it's quite clever in that if you are the only person to put a spy down, you can see it's worth no points. But if you're the only person to have played that in that round, you also get a favour. So you could win the round and have a spy down and get 2 favour. Or if you don't win that round, but you still get a favour and you're working towards the win. One of the reasons I don't like the game because of this, but I mean that's me. I'm just saying. I'm in the game. I'm not, but that looks like me. But yeah, it's a really simple game. I've the game group that I was starting right before the pandemic, and I hate mentioning that in these videos because it does sort of age the video, and I want this to be a place where we don't have to talk about all those kind of things. It's about the games really, but it seems that the calendar these days is before pandemic and after pandemic. But I did have a game group starting up. We played a few games like King of Tokyo, Ticket to Ride, Forbidden Island. I was getting them all into sort of the sort of gateway ones, and just before we sort of disbanded at work, we did get a good fun game of Love Letter going, and they all seemed to really enjoy it. It is one of those games when you pull it out of your sort of your pocket and they see this, it's a bunch of blokes, and they see this, and you say, "This is a really good game we should play," and they're like, "What's it called? Love Letter, really?" And some of these guys were like that. They kind of didn't think. We've been playing sort of dice battling games and train games, as it were. And then suddenly there's me saying about, you're trying to discover the secret letter to the princess and stuff. But once they got down to the mechanics of the game, they had a real good laugh. So it's an easy one to teach. It's got a nice player count because you can go up to 6. I think it doesn't play well at 2 because there's a lot of hidden information, although it says you can play at 2. So I recommend no less than 3. But yeah. That's Love Letter. A great little pocket game that you can take around with you. Okay, we're at number 34 on the list now, and this game is Unearth. It has dropped 23 places from last year. It's designed by Jason Harner and Matthew Ransom, and I think this is the Brotherwise game version. 2 to 4 player game, although if you buy the expansion, you get a 5th set of dice and everything else you need. And as well as a solo mode. But this game I was just getting into the gaming, and I mentioned in the last video I'm kind of all about, not all about the looks, but the looks of the game can really draw me in, and I really liked the sort of Minecraft-esque artwork on the cover, and then I looked into the game and it's just all the cards, and there's a lot of big sort of tarot sized cards, and you can see they're all just they look really really nice, really nice style there. And you also get the dice as well, sort of the marble effects. But yeah, so Unearth is a bit like if you've ever played Roll for It, which might be on my list later in one of the other videos. But it's you have some of these cards down. So like Roll for It, you're trying to win the card by placing dice on it. So having the different numbers of the dice faces you need, you have a total, and the total is worked towards by all players who put a dice there. Unlike Roll for It, where you roll the dice and then see where you're going to go, you only roll one of your dice per turn, and you have to decide where you're going to go before you can roll it. So it's a real gamble of are you going to get the number high enough to break the card and keep it, or are you going to go just under and then give your opponents a real advantage because now they only need one or two to get it. And you also get to choose which of the dice you roll. I don't know if you can see there, you've got 3 d6s, a d8 and a d4. So your d8 is your sort of strong dice because it can go up to 8. So you've got a better chance of getting those big numbers, or you could just get a 1. But there's like a separate game going on, so you sort of set a collection with these cards. There's 5 or 6 different colours of them, and the way you score at the end is how many of each colour you have. You score X amount of points, and there's also extra points for if you can have like a set of all of them. But there's like a little mini sub game going on where you are, if you get, I think if you get 2, if you roll 2 or 1 on your dice, you still place it on a card, but then you get to draw a token from a bag, and they look like this. Little Minecraft cubes, and various colours. There's yellow, blue, red, black, and you then place these, and you form a sort of hexagon. And then when you complete a row 6, there's some other cards that have specific rules to how you can take a bonus scoring token. So it might be like 3 reds and then 3 random colours, or all 6 of the same colour making up that hexagon. And then you place that scoring tile in the middle, and you can build off of that. So they don't have to have like separate hexagons. So you can kind of build one and then use the 2 parts of that one to continue your next hexagon. So it's like a little brick building game going on at the same time as your set collection. But yeah, this it's a really good game. The mechanics and everything. I really really enjoy the game. I do like it a lot. It's dropped because we just haven't played it as much as I'd like to, which is a common comment of mine now on this. A lot of games love them to pieces, but there's all this new stuff coming in, and you just don't get time for the older classics that you love. So it has dropped, but it's just a beautiful looking game. The art on the cards, the art on the box, the tokens, the dice themselves. Yeah, really like this game, and if you haven't already played it, I recommend checking it out. Okay, back to a smaller game on the list now, at number 33, and this is Hive Pocket, designed by John Yarny and published by Gen42. And this was one of the first games I got. I think I caught the Shut Up Sit Down review that Quinton did when he was away on travels, and it is just a head-to-head chess-like game where you are using hexagonal pieces, and this is the pocket version, so these are actually smaller than the main version. I think they're about this big, and you have about 5 or 6 insects to control, and you're trying to surround the bee piece of your opponent, so that's like the king. And each insect has a different power, so the ant can kind of move all around wherever he wants to go. The spider has to move 3 spaces, and when I say spaces, it's basically like the edge of the tiles, so that's 1, 2, 3. There's a mosquito, because the Hive Pocket Edition comes with the mosquito and ladybird expansion. So the mosquito can copy any animal, any insect that it's touching at that time. The stag beetle can move 1, but it can climb on top of the pieces, so you can kind of trap an opponent's piece, or even the bee itself in from moving. Yeah, it's just a really really good short 1 versus 1. It's very chess-like, with the extra benefit, it doesn't have a board, so you can play this on a rock, or you can play it just on a table. When I first got it, me and my friend, we played. We just met up for coffee and to have a chat, and ended up playing 2 hours of Hive, just straight like 20 something games of Hive. And it's really really good. It comes in little travel bags. It's all in there, the instruction manual and all the pieces, so you can just stick that in your pocket and go. It's just nice to have a few of those. you know, you got your big boxes and stuff, and you got your little card games. That it's nice to have a few games that are just in a not in a box, just in a little bag like Love Letter was. You can just chuck in your pocket and go. But yeah, just a really good game, and I've been able to teach it. I've taught it to my nephews, and they can pick up really quickly. And the components themselves are just really nice. The tiles, and it's very clear. You can also get there's the standard version with the larger tiles, but the large version also comes in. I think it's called the carbon version, where it is just black and white. So the black pieces have white insects on them, the white pieces have black insects on them. I really like the look of it. I nearly got it, but I thought it might be difficult to see the insects immediately, whereas these are all color coded, so you know the blue is the ant, the grasshopper, which can jump over in straight lines, is green, so you don't really have to. So you just catch the color, you know exactly what insect you're working with. There aren't many downsides to this game. It can get a bit. I had a game I played with a work colleague, and it got he got very defensive, and so I was this. I mean, this game can play like between sort of 5 and 10 minutes. And most of the games I play now are like that. But this game went on a lunch break for 45 minutes, and I was constantly 2 moves away from winning, and then he would back out, and I couldn't trap his piece. And then when I could, he managed to free it up, and he just wasn't coming after me. And he'd used all his pieces, but he was very good at just sort of getting out of it. And I won in the end, but I was exhausted because I constantly was like, I've almost won. No, I haven't. I've almost won. I've got another idea, and I had to keep coming up with plans to keep him on his toes. But yeah, most games, 10 minutes now, and it can get a bit like. Sometimes you can see that it's going to be over. I had a game recently where we were both our bees were stuck, so there was no freeing them in the conventional sense, and it was both just working out who had the advantage on their turn. So we were both 5 moves away from winning, but my girlfriend had the turn initiative, so she'd get her 5 turns before I get my 5th turn. So it can get like that sometimes. That's probably the only downside to the game I find. It's just a nice one to teach and a nice one to just take away with us on trips and stuff, because it just fits in the pocket, and that is Hive Pocket. Next on the list is Paris, La Cité de Lumière, a game published by Devir and designed by Jose Antonio Abascal. This this is one of the games that is so much about the looks that got me hooked on this. And again, the gameplay backs it up. It is a 2-player only, sort of tile level polyomino area control game, I guess. But it's last year when I was sort of looking at getting sort of a lot of 1 versus 1 games for me and my girlfriend to play. This one popped up on the website of my local game store, Dice, in Portsmouth, and yeah, I didn't know too much about it. I looked at one review and just fell in love with all of the components, and I fell in love with the very sort of clever gameplay that it has. So I'm just going to go through the looks of this game. So first of all, you've got the manual, and it's done in sort of an old style newspaper. Really good. It's a very clear manual. The game doesn't take too long, and it's split into 2 sections. So part 1, you've both got a pile of 8 tiles, and they have different colours on them, all different. So that's the orange players' tiles. But I don't know if you can see, they've got orange, purple, and blue. So orange is one player, blue is the other, and then purple is like a neutral colour. And you also get grey lampposts, and these are key. So you can place buildings across any of these squares, but you can't touch a lamppost. But lampposts are key to scoring. But what's really nice about it is, and I don't know if I'm going to show you this, the board itself is played inside the box. It's all elevated. We just put it away like this because it's easy to store it. But what you do, so it's a 2-act game. So the first part of the game, you have a pile of 8 tiles each, and you're placing them within this box. You're sort of colouring the streets, or you're drawing polyomino tiles, and they're all polyomino. They're all different shapes. You've got your square ones, your L-shaped ones, your T ones. And they're all double layers, which is just a nice. I don't think they have to be, but it's just a nice little extra touch. And you're deciding whether to take a building or place a tile, and you're trying to place it so that your colour. you're thinking ahead to like the tile you've just taken on that turn, and you're trying to place your pavement tiles to allow you to place that on the second phase of the game. And you can kind of plan. You place a tile down, and then your opponent takes the one polymer piece that you really wanted. So you've got to change everything on the fly. And once you finish placing all the tiles and taking on the pieces you want, you switch to the second half of the game. And again, there's two actions you can take. You can either place a tile down and then use your coloured chimney. I love these to sort of claim it on the board, or you can play a postcard action. And these are like little extra bonus moves. But what's really nice about them is they are actual postcards. So there's the ability on the back, and you lay these out, and they all do different things. Once you've taken that postcard, the other person can't do it. But the other side of them, they just got like again really nice authentic artwork. So it's just a fantastic looking game. And then you sort of score up. So the way you score is the amount of squares your tile or tiles if it's joined, because you can have like a sort of largest layout as well. So that's a 5 square tile, and however many lampposts it's touching, you multiply 5 by that much. So if you can get that to touch 2 lampposts, that's worth 10 points. And then you've got some special actions. You can get special pieces that go on the board that score to how many lampposts they're touching. You can get extension pieces. You can get there's like a little square tile that you can place on top of a different colour tile to make it your own kind of thing. But it's just a very quick game. It's like about 15 minutes to play this, and I just love the 2 stages. So you're working like planning, putting your tiles down, getting the tiles you want, because you also get negative points for tiles at the end if you haven't placed them on the board. So you don't want to take too many tiles in case you screwed over placing them. But yeah, I love all that planning the first stage, and then trying to do it, because you can have this amazing plan, and then your opponent, because once the tiles are all down, the board's free for everyone. So there's nothing worse than planning everything out, and then the first tile your opponent puts down is right where you wanted to start building your buildings, and it just messes up. And then you're looking for any other sets of your colour squares plus the purple ones that fit this shape or whatever shape you've got. But yeah, so that's Paris, La Cité de Lumière. It's an amazing 2-player game, an amazing quick game, and it looks gorgeous. Okay, we're on to the last game of today's list, number 31, and it's Tatsu. This is a 1 versus 1 game. It's published by Gen42, like Hive, and it's designed by John Yahani, like Hive. And it's where Hive is more like a chess game, Tatsu is closer to backgammon. So you have a board and you have a double ringed layout, so an inner and outer circle, and one player moves their pieces anti-clockwise and the other clockwise. Use 2 dice to do this, and you can either move one piece using the total of the dice in 2 moves, or you can split your dice to different pieces on your that are available on the board. There's three different types of pieces that you have to play with. There's white pieces. Sorry for the white player, like Hive, white players and black player. But there's the green dragon, which is the vine dragon, and these, if they're on the outer ring and they're up against another one on the inner ring, they hold them in place. And the only way to escape a vine dragon is to use one of your 2 dice. So you sort of negate using the second dice to sort of squeeze out of there. The next one we have is the blue dragon, the water dragon, and if they're on the outside of view of an opponent's piece, they push them back to the starting tray, so they're sort of out of action until the player can get them back in again into the sort of arena. And then the last one is the fire dragon, and this guy does the same as the water dragon, but that piece is gone from the game, and you sort of collect it. And the aim is to wipe out one type of the opponent's pieces. There's 2 fire dragons, 3 water dragons, 4 vine dragons. So it's easy to do the fire dragons, but they're also going to be attacking you as well. So yeah, it's just, this is a really nice 1 versus 1 again. We do have a lot of 2-player games, and there'll be more on our list as we go through. This is less of a game. This is far down the list. It's actually dropped 16 places from last year. It's this far down the list not because I enjoy it less, but it's never a game that we want to play. I asked my girlfriend for a selection of games to play. It's never on our list. It's always a game when we can't think of anything else to play, or it's late, or we need a filler. And Tatsu is just one where we can both switch our brains off, as it were, and we both know each other's moves quite well, and it has almost like a dance to it now. This was in a recent Blues Reviews. I mentioned this. I think it was a very clever idea not to have both players go around the same direction, because you're just chasing and overtaking, and it would be quite boring. But the way that the two players play around opposite each other, like that, it gives this real dance feel to it, because you are like too far away. You know, you're going the opposite direction and starting off, and you're especially if it's the fire dragons, it's brilliant, because you're trying to count what you need before you roll the dice, but you're too far away to do anything. And then it's like, do you want to put yourself within that danger zone of, I'm in enough spaces that the opposition, if they roll a 12, they could get me? And you kind of edge closer to each other, and then one of you might over-roll, and you just go past, and it's just like, you missed that turn, and you got to come back and try again. And it adds real tension to it, because you are rolling those dice, and you just need, like, you know, a pair of numbers or one big number to just get you to take out another person's piece. But we kind of know each other so well playing this game now that it can look quite slow, but it's quite tactical. We don't rush. The early games are over in sort of like 5 minutes, because you'd be like, oh, I left myself open, I left a piece clearly in attack range, and you're able to get it quite quickly, 1, 2, 3, and I'm out. But now it's very much like we've learned how to sort of like work our pieces together. So we've got one piece on the inner and outer ring in the same section, so that our dragons can't be attacked. And it's all about who rolls the dice at the wrong time that doesn't allow them to do that, and then leaves one of the dragons open. So whereas before it was just a free for all, now me and my girlfriend play it in a way where it's the first one to make a slip up, or for the dice to make us make a slip up in that respect. The original version of the game came out. I remember Z Garcia reviewed this on Dice Tower a few years ago, and that's where I first sort of, when I was looking into it. And it came in a really horrible box, a lot like Hive does, where it was more like a frame of a box with a blister pack in it, and you had to kind of put a few pieces into the indents of the clear plastic that was sort of displayed in the outside. And that's one of the complaints he had about it. And I'm so glad when I ordered it off of Amazon, and this version turned up. Much nicer artwork, because the first one doesn't really have a picture on the front, because it's sort of like cut away with the pieces showing through. And yeah, it's got a really nice inlay as well that holds all the pieces. It's just absolutely perfect. And then the dice are underneath the manual here, like that. Just a really nice inlay. And then this is the board. I'll just show you this quickly. It's one of the smaller boards we've been talking about today. I couldn't get the Lord of the Rings board on the screen, but I can probably get this one. But yeah, as you can see there, so the white one goes one way and the black one goes the other, and then you've got these. So when you land on these, you then call the this is your tray, and you call that dragon into the mat area, and then when you roll a 1, 2, or 3, you then bring that into play. But yeah, it's just look at that. I'm really gutted, because the guy that I was starting to get into the sort of the gaming group at work, who taught me backgammon, I said to him, like, I've got this game that's just like backgammon, but it's got dragons. You're gonna love it. And then we never got a chance to play. He actually left the job. I haven't had a chance to see him since to be able to play this game, but I think he would love it. But yes, so that is one of my favourite, although it's on 31 on my list, it's one of my favourite 1 versus 1 games that we play in our collection. But yeah, so that's it for today. That was 40 down to 31. I have a feeling I made some mistakes in this video again. I think I got my numbers right. I probably forgot to mention some things from designers, and I'm sorry about that. Some boxes don't have it on, and yeah. But this is my sort of difficult second album video, so I'm trying to learn everything. I made mistakes in the first one. I'm probably making a whole load of new mistakes in this one, but I'm having fun doing it. I've enjoyed talking about these games that I love, and I'm probably going to get more chatty and more excited the closer we get to number 1, because they're going to be my absolute favourite games. So thank you to everyone that watched the last video and has come back to watch this video. Thank you for all the people that have sort of given me comments to suggest things to improve, or just to say great job doing the video. And I just hope that the next one's better and it keeps going, and you all enjoy it basically. So until next week, always play blue.